All right, allow me to skip my intro, my boring intro, and get directly to the main question that I have today because I've been searching online. I was on Twitter for at least 1 hour today, and I was asking what the hell is going on with our media in the Philippines. Okay, they were like posting a lot of copied, pasted, or purchased fake news from America's liberal media, and we have Rappler, we have ABS-CBN, we have Inquirer, Philippine Star, and all of them were like posting a lot of these fake news contents coming from America's liberal media, AFP, AP, Bloomberg, New York Times, etc. And they're missing the point. They're missing and not looking at the elephant in the room. And they're feeding the Filipino readers or netizens with trash that they got from the fake news industrial complex in the United States. Because if we're going to check on their posts, they're all like posting a lot of fake news about Biden winning the election, Biden winning Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin, etc., without telling you the context behind all this, okay? Because I don't know why. They're probably in cahoots with America's fake news media industrial complex, or they're simply useful idiot. I don't know, but it's like a cancer or like worse than coronavirus that infected all of them. They're like all in one, okay, in lockstep, in trying to flood the Philippine World Wide Web with a lot of lies and propaganda coming again from America's liberal media. All right, so here are the contents I'm talking about. So I was like trolling them or posting or commenting on all of their posts about all of this fake news media articles coming from America's liberal fake news. So, for example, we have Inquirer. These are actually my tweets and replies. Okay, and by the way, this is my new Twitter account because for the nth time, Twitter banned my Twitter account, my old Twitter account, and I have 3 followers. All right, let me just show you my followers. By the way, I have two blue check marked followers, 3 followers, and one who is very interested in politics. So, all right, so let's check on what these liberal or probably Philippine media establishments have been posting over the past few hours. So, for example, 30 minutes ago, I posted or commented on this. U.S. Postal Service said about 1,700 ballots. This is actually one of the best posts so far by any Philippine media outlet about American elections. Okay, so I've been like searching over the past days and to check if there's some like objective post or repost that our Philippine media have been doing since the election on November 3rd or November 4th in the Philippines. So I just made a comment and okay, so here's Rappler is actually one of the worst. Okay, I don't hate Rappler. In fact, I'm a Duterte critic. I'm not a fan of Duterte because of his drug war and a lot of issues that I don't really like about him, especially policy wise. I don't just or I don't like him not because of his demeanor or character. No, I'm not into that. Um, I'm more into ideas and politics, his policies, okay? And I'm more against the policies than his character. So I can accept his character, that's who he is as president of this country, but I still respect him as the president in the Philippines. So all right, so for example, Rappler, Lugaw, anyone, so they were like comparing the case of Leno Robredo and Bongbong Marcos with what's going on in United States today, the case between Trump and Biden. And a lot of from CNN, for example, I don't know what this guy is talking about. She's like talking about tension in the United States politics. So I haven't heard, the news here, but I did make a comment on this just to let you know. So, all right, so they're simply making straight news, which is I think is good. But one thing is missing actually. They're not actually presenting the Filipinos the real context of this fight between Biden and Trump. So far the election is over. Okay, the American people were able to cast their votes even before November 3rd because of the mail-in ballot cheat system that the Democrats introduced. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. They should show us the real context. Why is it that they're showing us a lot of news about Trump, like complaining about what's going on? So, for example, Rappler was showing a lot of this some kind of anti-Trump posts coming from AP and AFP, and they're not giving us the context. So, for example, Trump, requesting that they should stop the counting. What's the context behind that? Okay, they should give us a context. So the context that they missed is, and that these fake news media in the Philippines won't tell you, is that the Democrats tried to cheat the elections. Okay, I know that a lot of Filipinos have this mentality that if you lost the game, whether it be politics or any type of game, that automatically nadaya ka na or you've been cheated. No, you're a victim of cheating, for example. That's not actually what's going on in the United States, because clearly Trump was a victim or is a victim of election cheating or rigging. And at the 11th hour, these Democrats introduced all these hundreds of thousands of ballots in these remaining states like Michigan, Arizona, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania at the 11th hour, and they changed the rules. Okay, and like what I've been telling or saying over the past few days in my previous vlogs, the Democrats use this coronavirus as an alibi or justification in order to cheat and rig the election process and defeat Trump. Okay, so they introduced this universal or forced mail-in ballots in order to rig the system and to pollute the system, and that's what they did in the eve of November 3rd. So before midnight, they paused or froze the election counting, the counting of votes and the declaration of winners in, for example, Arizona. And during that time, before midnight, Trump was like winning big. Okay, he's winning big in Pennsylvania as well. He's winning big. He's like leading, and then they paused. Okay, they froze the counting. There was a sudden stop. Okay, and no one could explain, not even the America's fake news media. No one was able to explain from the Democrat side, because all of these states are ruled or governed by American liberals or Democrats. Okay, they control the state. In the midnight of that big day, like a thief in the night, the Democrats were able to steal the election. They introduced and polluted the system with hundreds of thousands of questionable ballots, okay? Probably fake ballots, etc. And for example, Trump has a big chance of winning his legal battle against Democrats in Pennsylvania. The Democrats in Pennsylvania tried to rig the election by introducing ballots after the election day against the rules, because according to their own state rules, all ballots that are going to be introduced after the election day are going to be invalid. Okay, you cannot introduce ballots after the election day. As you can see here, the Supreme Court orders Pennsylvania Democrats to respond in ballot dispute because they introduced ballots after the election day, which is against the state rules. Okay, in Pennsylvania, it is the state legislatures that has the final say about what to do with election policies and practices and processes. So it's not anyone else's call. Okay, so because America is a federal government. Okay, there is an independent state and there's an independent federal government, and the state governments are independent of each other, and they're independent of the federal government. So the states themselves, like Pennsylvania, can make their own election rules. Okay, so as you can see, according to the Republicans, this is an open invitation, the introduction of ballots, mail-in ballots after the election day against the rules, like I said, is an open invitation to voters to cast their ballots after election day. That's the reason why there are so-called rules. Okay, you need to make the rules in order to prevent massive or widespread cheating. So these are the things that our Philippine media neglected to explain to the Filipino people. They're not actually telling you why Trump is complaining, why Trump is calling for the stoppage of counting. There's always some context behind that. If you're gonna check on, for example, the Twitter account of President Trump, as you can see, he's been flagged by, Twitter for a lot of his posts. As you can see, Twitter, he said, is out of control, made possible through the government gift of Section 230, and that's going to be another topic. So as you can see, his posts were flagged by Twitter for I don't know why. Trump is the president of the most powerful country on this planet. Okay, you should know what he's gonna say, whether you like him or not. You should know. Okay, I'm not I'm not in favor of censorship. I'm against censorship, especially if it's done by the government, and also if it's done by private entities that are enjoying legal exemptions or legal what they call these gifts, as Trump was trying to say here, the gift of Section 230 that makes these social media companies immune from lawsuits, okay, for acting like publishers. Okay, so okay, this is the tweet that they flagged. I easily win the presidency of the United States with legal votes cast. So he's merely saying the truth. So he's actually fighting for the counting of legal and valid votes only. And again, that is something that the Philippine media didn't want you to know. It's either they're complicit with America's liberal media, or they just don't know what they're talking about. Okay, or they don't know the issue. Again, we have all this issue, this fight between President Trump's lawyers and the Democrat lawyers, because Joe Biden is not anywhere. Okay, he doesn't even know where he is actually, because he's got some mental issues because of, I don't know, he's probably got dementia, according to some people. So, all right, so all of this context that the media should tell you, they're not telling you because probably they have an agenda, or it's either just plain ignorance or stupidity. All right, a lot of Trump's tweets were censored by Twitter. They keep censoring him, and he's the most powerful man on earth, and they're calling him fascist. These people, the people from Twitter, okay, most of them must be Democrats and liberals and Democrat donors. These people are the type of people that are calling Trump fascist. So he must be the worst fascist or Nazi on earth then, because not only that he gave, or he caused America to be more freer, okay, both in terms of the civil rights of the American people and economic rights. He also got more votes from Latino minorities, Black people, Hispanics, Asians, okay, and women as well, across the board. So how can you call him racist? Okay, you must be a racist for calling him racist. So what I'm trying to say is the Philippine media failed to tell you the main reason why we have all this crisis. We have all this crisis because the liberals and Democrats that wanted to win the election by any means necessary took advantage of the coronavirus or China virus crisis and introduced these forced mail-in ballots in order to poison or to dilute the election or the ballots at the 11th hour. And that's what they did when they had all this freeze, okay, the sudden freeze before midnight of November 3rd. So there's a sudden freeze, and the counting of votes in Pennsylvania, Arizona, Wisconsin, and Michigan suddenly stopped. And then all these, Democrats in those states were preventing election watchers from the Republican Party to witness what's going on. They were prevented and they were threatened with arrest. Okay, and these Democrats are operatives of the Democrat Party, and their intention was really to hide the magic. They were hiding the magic from happening, from unfolding. So much like the elections here in the Philippines, we've actually the Filipinos mastered this traditional way of cheating, although the Americans were like somehow made it a bit digital, okay, digital and more like spectacular to watch because, at the 11th hour before midnight, they stopped everything and then they started, doing this hocus pocus in order to introduce poison ballots to the pool. And then after a couple of hours, Biden started leading the votes in Arizona, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and now Georgia. So these are the facts of the case. So for Filipinos familiar with traditional cheating in the province, especially those living in Abra, I'm from the Ilocos region, so I'm very much familiar with the cheating strategies by local politicians, the sudden outages, okay, in public school rooms where they were counting the votes. There's sudden, power outage, and after that, they're gonna change the contents of the ballots, okay, the steel ballots. So they were doing that during the manual process, okay, when we still had the manual election process, and they're gonna steal the actual ballots, okay, in order to change its content. Now we strive to modernize our election system because we know that faster election counting means more transparent and more integrity based election results. We have that mentality. That's the reason why we were able to improve our election and counting system. We introduced the digital voting system so that we could simply and easily count the vote within one day, so that within the 24-hour period or even the 24-hour period, we already know who won the elections locally and nationally. So we know that time is of the essence when it comes to election counting. We're very much familiar with this problem here in the Philippines because we've been to this, okay? And we this is something that our Philippine media are not discussing at all. The sudden pause, the sudden freeze of counting in Michigan is like the Filipino people going back to their traditional backward, traditional cheating system. Okay, like 10 years ago or 20 years ago. So there's a reason why they had to pause it. Okay, that's because they would like to cheat and they would like to defeat President Trump by hook or by crook, okay, by any means necessary, regardless of whether they're gonna kill anyone or steal the ballots. Okay, that's exactly what they did. It's like a magic trick. In the middle of the night, or like a thief in the night, they were able to change the election result. Who are these people? Most of them are actually Democrats. And that's one thing that we don't want to see happen in the Philippines. So, like I was trawling earlier, I was like trawling all these news outlets in this country, like Philippines Daily Inquirer, Rappler. So, okay, what if President Duterte is going to introduce mail-in ballots, universal force mail-in ballots in the Philippines? Are they gonna start liking him, like they fawn over Biden? They're fawning over Biden. They're ignoring the cheating, rampant cheating and election rigging by his party, okay, and focusing on Trump, trying to expose the Democrats' cheating culture and cheating tactics. Okay, they're exposing on the man who's being cheated, right? Exposing him I don't know the reason why. Probably they just hate Trump. So, okay, why not call on Duterte? to implement in the Philippines universal mail-in ballots, since we know that COVID is not yet over? Are they gonna start liking Duterte? My bet is they're gonna start howling. They're gonna start howling and screaming their heads off. Okay, because they know if they had decency at all, if they had conscience, if they're that smart, they know that mail-in ballots or universal or forced mail-in ballots in this country is not going to work for this country. It's just gonna work for corrupt traditional politicians in this country, but not for the good of this country. So as you can see, this news coming from Inquirer, which is a purchase news. They're simply buying news from Reuters, for example, like this one. It's this story coming from Reuters. So, U.S. Postal Service says 1,700 ballots found in Pennsylvania facilities. So things like this, we've been here, okay, in the past. The Filipino people witnessed this type of election problem in the past, and we would like to get past all these election issues that we've had. So we have killings during election time in this country. So we would like to modernize. That's the reason why we would like to have a faster election. But looks like the Democrat states in the United States, like Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, they would like to get back to the dark ages of election counting, because they would like to win the election by hook or by crook. They would like to defeat Trump. Okay, so they're worse than the third world country in this region or Asia so far. So, okay, my suggestion to Duterte, since he's got a lot of bashers from the media. Okay, Duterte should hint implementing universal or forced mail-in ballots come election time. They might start loving him and liking him. By they, I mean the fake news media in this country. And let me just show you something, because one of the victims and one of the most emotional moments, post-election moments, caused by this mail-in ballot system in the U.S. is this footage. So this is a woman. As you can see, she's an old woman who wanted to vote in person. Okay, she's old, and I think she's living or a resident of a home for the aged facility in Nevada, and she would like to vote in person as she did in the past. She said, but the Democrats don't want that. Okay, despite the fact that they have protesters, the BLM, the rioters, Antifa, they're rioting in the streets, burning cities, destroying businesses, killing black people, killing people indiscriminately. The Democrats would still like to force people to vote by mail, okay? But they're funding all these protesters to destroy cities in their own Democrat states, right? See the irony there? So they don't want you to vote in person because of COVID, as they say. That's the reason why they introduced this forced or universal mail-in ballot system. But it's okay that these Antifa and BLM thugs are going to riot and destroy cities, and they're funding them. And this woman, she's old, as you can see. She's old, but I think she's smart, and she would like to vote in person. So let's listen to her statement here.
My name is Jill Stokey. I went to vote and was told I already voted. I pursued the matter, and in years past, I always voted in person. This time, they mailed out the ballot, and somebody took my ballot.
Mm-hmm.
They also took the ballot of my roommate.
Well,
I'm going to tell you something, Rick.
imagine that this old woman is not afraid of COVID, and she was deprived of her right to vote by the Democrats, by the system that they would like to implement. That's the politics of COVID, and that's the reason why I keep telling that it's not an incidental occurrence from China, actually. It's all part of the design, and the Democrats seized this opportunity to politicize the coronavirus. They know themselves that, you know, the virus is just there. It's not going to infect them. That's the reason why they keep funding and encouraging their own base to riot and, burn businesses in their own Democrat states. Okay, but they would like to politicize this crisis or this coronavirus issue in order to defeat Trump. That's how evil these people are. And I don't think Filipino people, including the media themselves that are fawning over Biden, I don't think they're going to approve of universal mail-in ballots in this country. That's the reason why I wish, President Duterte is going to troll the media by hinting that, hey, one day before election, I'm going to implement force universal mail-in ballots because looks like you're liking Biden because of it, right? You're not even talking about it. You're simply cheering Biden's election results in all those um, Democrat states and cities, but you're not talking about the elephant in the room. I hope Duterte is gonna say that to slap these stupid, useful idiots in the media industry in this country with reality. Okay, I hope someone is gonna suggest this to President Duterte. Okay, that's gonna be fun to watch. Let's see how these media people in this country are gonna scream their heads. Okay, so if you like Biden to implement universal mail-in ballots, why would you oppose Duterte then from implementing the same idea that you cheered over the past few days, right? Okay, but that's gonna be the end of it. And this is again Uncensored Asian Vlog, and have a good one to all of you.